Hey y'all, I'm Tess Holliday, and welcome to my slumber party. Each week, I'm going to introduce you to folks who are making the world a better place. So put on your pajamas, grab a snack, and let's change the world from our bedroom. Hey y'all, welcome to my slumber party. I'm so happy to have you guys hanging out with me today. I am thrilled, over the moon, ecstatic to introduce my guest today, Julee Wilson. Hi, Julee.
What up, girlfriend?
Yeah, wait, I can't wait to visit you in New York, put this vaccine in my body.
Yes. I
Um,
cannot wait.
I can't wait. So, for those of you that don't know but should know, and you will know, Julee is the beauty director at Cosmopolitan and the former global beauty editor at Essence.
Mhm.
I met Julee at a Christian Siriano show during New York Fashion Week. You had your oldest child, who's no longer an only child, with
Yep.
us. Not with us. I say we were there together. We weren't. But correct me if I'm wrong. He was like laying on the ground, just living life in his cute little outfit.
Yeah.
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 Chilling.
I think he was like
Yes.
3 or 4 at the time. And he was just like, I like to take him to a show during Fashion Week, like 1 or 2 shows to show him like what mommy does.
Yeah.
And Christian Siriano is just amazing. And like, he's always such like a family, like reunion vibe there. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's such a great show to bring kids. And then after the show, he was just like laying on the runway and just being crazy.
He was spread out, and I remember looking at him and I was like, that's how I feel. And then looking at you, and we had a moment, and it was such a short exchange. I didn't know who you were at the time, but I knew that I like loved you. Just had this like energy about you, which now I know that I'm lucky enough to call you my friend, but that's just who you are. You just have this like warmth to you, and you both were just there at this you just gave no shits. Like you were there with your baby having like, and you're right, like his shows are a family show, but I had never seen anybody like bring their kid and just hang out and look. Y'all both looked so cute, and I was like, I want to be friends with that person.
And now here we are, friends.
And now here we are, and I'm honored to be your friend. So today we're going to talk about what it takes to be a beauty director in the new digital age, and why it's important to have Black leaders like Julee, leading these conversations, and the realities of being a working mom, because Julee had a baby. How long has it been now? It's been very, like, I want to say 2 months.
A little over 2 months.
2 months. How are you doing with all being a new mom right now through all of this? I'm going to jump into the questions later, but I have to ask because we haven't really talked much since you had the baby.
Yeah, it's been wild. Like being pregnant during the pandemic was crazy. I got pregnant at like in April of last year.
Wow.
So it was like right at the beginning. I had just started my new job at Cosmopolitan. I started April 1st at Cosmopolitan. And this was not planned.
Mhm.
Literally, me and my husband, just one night, we're just listening to D Nice.
Yeah.
Like club quarantine moments.
Yeah.
And my quarantine WAP was too good. And my husband lost himself. And here we are. It was a wanted pregnancy in a sense of I had a few miscarriages the year prior. And like we were definitely thinking about expanding our family.
Mhm.
But because of the new job in the pandemic, we were like, we have to wait.
Yeah.
The universe, like, you're not waiting.
Yep.
Here you are.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of crazy, but I was able to keep my pregnancy a secret for like 6 months because it's Zoom life. Like right now, you can't see my belly. Like I could fully be pregnant right now. So I was doing my job and not letting anyone know that I was pregnant because I really wanted people to see that they hired this rock star and I could do the job and I didn't have this asterisk next to like the beginning of my job there as like, oh, and now she's pregnant. So it was really nice to do that. And now having him here, it's just lovely to have this like new soul and like new light to like pour into. I think the thing that is the saddest thing is like when we had my first son, Orion, 6 years ago, my parents were there at the hospital. My sister was there at the hospital.
Yeah.
Like my best friends came from like Philadelphia and here and there to see him within the first week. We had friends from the city come to the apartment. Like my parents didn't come to the hospital. Like they waited about 2 weeks before they came to visit him because they wanted to like quarantine, make sure, get tested, all of that stuff before they came up from Delaware to meet the baby. So like, it's been sad that like we can't show him, like people can't come over and hold him and see him like they did with my first son.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that part. I get what that means to start a new job and then be pregnant and then you have to worry about like, how people perceive you. So,
Yeah, it was hard. It
yeah.
was tough, but then like, and I had so much anxiety once I decided that I was going to tell
Yeah.
them. Then literally my editor-in-chief, Jessica Pels, like cried with tears of happiness. And I was just like, and I cried because she was crying.
Yeah.
And I felt so supported in that
Good.
moment. And like, that was validation that like sometimes we like get in our heads and we worry about things that we shouldn't. And like, you just have to trust the universe that like, I was supposed to get pregnant at this time. I was supposed to have this job at this time. And I was supposed to be working for these people that I'm working with.
Absolutely.
Now,
I love that. I text Julie this morning. I text you and then I think I sent a voice note, but I told her, I was like, I'm so excited to see you. I'm so honored to have you as my guest just because of who you are and just to share you with like my audience. But I was nervous. I'm not anymore. And Julie texted me back like, it's fine, girl. We're going to hang out. We're going to have fun. And I just was laughing because I'm like, this is who you are. But also, I've never had a guest reassure me the day of our interview not to be nervous.
I think that's the funnest part about podcasts too. And you can always tell the best ones are when you can tell the people have like a real relationship, right?
Yeah.
We actually like text each other and DM each other all the time. So like I like to like be a voyeur in those podcasts and listen to those conversations because I'm like, it doesn't feel so stiff. Like here's a question and here's an answer. It's like, no, girlfriend, this is how I'm feeling. This is what it is. I literally said quarantine WAP. Yes, I did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that is like not necessarily what I would say on like the New York Times podcast.
It's not. And it's a slumber party and this is what you do on slumber parties. And, if you're going to hang out with a good friend of yours, then they're going to drop gems like quarantine WAP and our conversation's probably going to be all over the place. But, the universe knows what it's doing. So Julie had gifted me, and I want to say before we get into like the snacks and the game and the questions and all the fun stuff, Julie had gifted me a meditation pillow. And who is it from?
It's from Nicole Crowder Upholstery. She's amazing, Black woman based, like I believe, like in DC or in Virginia, and somewhere in that area. And her stuff is just like amazing. Her prints, and I told her, I was like, I have to get Tess. I need you to make, it's like bespoke. It's like just for you. No one else can have it. I was like, I need to get Tess this meditation pillow because you bring me so much peace. Like your just aura, your light, and like your feed, your Instagram feed, like it brings me so much peace. And I'm like, people don't understand that. Remember, those memes that's like check on your strong friends?
Yeah.
It's like even strong people who bring so much joy into other people's lives, that takes a lot of energy. And like, I wanted to make sure that you were also pouring into yourself because you pour into so many other people. And so like the meditation pillow, I thought was like a perfect moment to remind you to like go sit on that pillow and take some time for yourself.
Thank you for saying all of that. I used to be really bad at accepting compliments and I've gotten better just because I have so many incredible people in my life like you that I know. I mean, I love a lot. I give very freely, but I had to learn to not expect it back. But now I've noticed that universally the love that I've been giving and working really, really close with working really tightly with like making my circle closer. I don't have to worry about whether or not the love is coming back because of the people in my life and the quality of people. And that pillow has brought me so much joy. I meditate every single day with the pillow. And yeah, I mean, I think that I guess the moral, I'm going to wrap this up by just saying like, I hope you guys all have wonderful friends like me. And I'm sure you guys do. But secondly, it's nice to have people that love you and show up for you, and sometimes you can't, because I had started my meditation journey through, I've been doing it for a while, but self-care was kind of forced on me through COVID, and having you do something like that really meant a lot. And I just want to say thank you.
Good. I'm glad you love it. You deserve it all.
I do. So we are going to jump into what we're snacking on today, because I asked Julie, I said, Julie, what are we snacking on? And what did you say?
Popcorn.
Popcorn. And what are we drinking?
Sake.
So I love this combination. It's
a wacky combination.
It's a delicious combination. I don't drink, and I say it wrong. Sake. I have never really tried it. I had a sip before this.
I've been drinking a lot of sake. One, because like it's different. I like it. It feels like a cocktail, but it's like, it's just pour and go. I also drink a very specific sake. It's Nagori. So it's you see how it's cloudy? Wait. It's not clear.
Do I have the same one?
I don't know. It's
Nigori.
Yeah, you have Nagori?
Look at the universe. It was literally the Japanese restaurant across my street. I sent my friend to get it because I was stressing. And she was like, I told him I want whatever is like the best, but not too expensive. And then this is what.
Yes. So Nagori, like usually when people drink sake, it's like that clear, it almost looks like vodka, it's like clear or water. And I like those, but my favorite is Nagori, and it's unfiltered. So it's like
cloudy.
Right. It's cloudy because it still has kind of like the rice milk in it rather than the rice being filtered out.
I have a baby shot glass, so I'm going to cheers you, because I'm going to try this for the first time because I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. It's
wow.
Like milk. It's like milky and yummy and alcohol-y all at the same time. Did you shake it?
No.
Did you shake the bottle? Okay, you have to make sure you shake the bottle and make sure it gets all mixed up.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this sip and then shake it. I think that's so funny that it literally is Nagori cloudy sake. And it's so
funny because people usually don't drink it.
That's so funny. Yeah, it says it's unfiltered with some of the rice sediment. Wow. See, when people don't believe in the universe, because people make fun of me a lot. And especially since, I feel like I talk about my breakup every episode, but it's what I'm going through. It's where I'm at. And I feel like I'm finally I feel younger than ever, even though my body and my skin is like, well, you're knocking on 40's door. But, I'm just kind of trying everything. And I talk about the universe a lot and manifestation and alignment, and people make fun of me. No one that I'm close to, because I would never. But the fact that we got the same one when I didn't ask you is really funny. We also got the same popcorn without knowing as well. So she was like, she was like, we got the same one. So tell me about your pajamas, because when I came into the room and saw you on the screen in your pajamas, I wanted to know everything.
Am I doing it right, Tess? I'm trying to be a supermodel like you.
For those of you that aren't watching on YouTube right now, Julie is posing it out. She is elongating her arms behind her head. We are getting length. We are getting movement. There's a little boob zhuzh.
I'm trying to get on your level, Tess. This is from Hill House Home. My friend has this company called Hill House Home. Her name's Nell Diamond. She's amazing. It's the nap dress. She's like trademarked the name nap dress.
I love it.
And basically, it's just like the ruffled shoulders. It's ruched. It's like almost like a very like Little House on the Prairie kind of looking style. But you can like wear a t-shirt under it or a turtleneck and like go out in it, like, or you can just, or it's like just a regular, great, nice house dress. But it's awesome because it's stretchy and all of the things. And like, it's easy for me to pull out my boob because I'm breastfeeding and like,
Yes.
but also look fabulous while doing so.
You look beautiful. I love the ruffles. And I was sad that I didn't know if it was going to be in my size. And you told me that they go up to 4X.
Yeah.
So
Even it can go up to even higher, I'm sure. Like she's super inclusive. That's like a part of her brand and she doesn't fuck around. So like I love that about her.
I love that. And we also, I feel like it's important we discuss, I sat down and we were talking, Julie and I were talking about Black owned brands because last year, I want to say like May-ish, you worked really hard on this list of Black owned beauty brands, which
Yeah.
is a very extensive list. Where can they find it? Because I want to link it because it's an incredible list.
You can find it on cosmopolitan.com. It's
Okay.
a list of 125 Black owned beauty brands. And I think I did it in June right after, George Floyd's, murder and like all of that. So, but I wanted to make it really extensive to your point, Tess, because I think that, it can get really performative sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, here's the top 20 Black owned beauty brands. And it's like, there's a lot more. Like I could have gone more. That was 125 off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like based on my time and energy, I didn't have time to keep going.
Yeah.
But like that was from me knowing, these founders, these companies, like, and really having, tried the products and knowing who they are before it was cool to know who they are.
Absolutely.
Right. And I wanted people to know there was more than 25 or 50. There's 125 plus.
Absolutely.
So it was really a labor of love and something I really wanted to make sure everyone knew about.
And I appreciate it so much. I've referenced that list so many times. I've sent it to all of my friends. I have it bookmarked because it's great for if you want to just buy gifts for people, if you want to be more mindful about where your money is going, buying stuff for your house. And of course, again, the universe. I feel like that's the overlying thing today with like, we're not even into the questions. We're not even like, we haven't even dove into the podcast fully, but I wore a Black owned brand from the list, which is the lip bar for my lipstick because I wanted to have a Black owned lip brand because that's like kind of the center of my makeup today. And I sat down and Julie, what lipstick are you wearing?
The lip bar.
The lip bar.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
So again, the universe knows what it's doing.
It knew. So yeah, Julie and I are just being cute, and we hope that you listening or watching at home are feeling just as cute. And if not, you have a long list to reference to get stuff to help you be cuter.
Absolutely.
So before I ask all of these questions that I am so excited to ask Julie, I want to discuss my week a little bit. And when I was sitting down writing this episode and thinking about what do I want to talk about with my friend, I talk about dating a lot. I talk about it every episode because I'm currently dating and realizing how hard it is. And yeah, it's tough, but what I kind of wanted to talk about for a bit is how grateful I am to have friends like Julie who, when I'm going through this dating, they don't give me toxic advice. And I guess, like, did you find when you were, dating your husband or even before that, I know you had friends that you leaned on, but did you notice that you had certain friends that you were like, I can't call so-and-so because they're gonna steer me the wrong way or like whatever,
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to like watch who you share things with. Some people aren't ready to help you because they haven't helped themselves, right? So I leaned a lot on friends who, one, knew me the longest, or two, have gone through, crazy relationships or interesting situations, because I know that the way they navigated it was something that I was inspired by, and I wanted them to help me navigate my situation. So there's definitely, I would say there was like very few people who I would say are like toxic and like would give me bad information. But
Yeah.
that's counting myself lucky that I just have really great friends.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I don't have anyone in my inner circle, right? I actually have no one that I consider a friend that's toxic. I think I cut all those out before we went in the new year. I felt a real big I felt the universe calling me to like really cut these people out, and it was because I think my year was kind of shifting to be something bigger than me this year, which I feel incredibly grateful for given how hard, the past year has been for so many people, myself included. But, I think the universe knew that I needed a lot of love and support. And so I cut the toxic out. But it's so nice. I was FaceTiming with Julie and I was telling her about this date I went on this week with this person that's kind of come back in my life. And I was talking to her about texting and like communication and what like kind of what to do. And what did you say about like, should I text him? Do you not?
Look, I'm a modern type of girl, and I think that the ladies can be just as aggressive as some of the men. If you know what you want, go for it, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that like if the person in this situation, they're maybe not texting as frequently as you want them to, and that sort of thing. It's like sometimes you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. That's not their love language. That's not the way in which they express
Mm,
themselves, or they could have done it wrong in the past and someone reprimanded them for it. Like, oh, you're like suffocating me. You're like texting me too much. And then this is their extreme of like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to mess this thing up by over texting.
for sure.
So you never know what a person is going through or has gone through. So, that's the gems I dropped for you. I don't know what this situation will pan out to be, but
Oh,
I
I'll keep
think
you
that
updated.
giving someone a little grace,
Yeah.
even if, you might want them to act a certain way. Like my husband, for example, right? His love language is very different from mine. You and I are very similar in which we love really hard. And like, I'm like, I love you. I, you know, I can't live without you. I remember saying that to him when we were dating or like when we were engaged. And he was like, okay, Julie. And I was like, can you not live without me? And he was like, yes, I can live without you. And I'm like, what? He was like, I don't want to, but I could. And it was just like, that's not what I want to hear,
Yeah.
right? I want to hear that you can't live without me and that I'm the one and only person you ever want to be with. And he was like, I mean, I could be with other people. Do I
Okay.
want to be with other people? No. And I was just like, okay, but it wasn't the way I wanted to hear it. I
Yeah.
know he felt the same way about me, but his love language is just different.
Absolutely.
And to know that people can love you in different ways, but it
Yes.
still be love, right? Because
Yes.
my husband, I know he loves me.
Mhm.
And I know that we're meant to be and like all of those things. But in his mind, me saying I can't live without you, he was like, you're lying because you could. You would go on and live without me. He thinks by saying, oh, I could live without you, but I don't want to, is even sexier and is even more based in love because he's like, I'm
Oh,
being brutally honest with you that like, of course we could live without each other, but I choose not to and I don't want to.
yeah.
So for him, he's like, I know it doesn't sound as nice, but but that's how real I am, is that like
Mm.
it could happen, but I don't want it to happen.
Absolutely. And listen, kudos to your guy because I was married, so I get, I was in a toxic marriage, so different, but marriage isn't always easy, but it's a choice. Choosing to love someone is a choice and it's not something you have to do. So I get that and it is romantic and I love that for you guys. And you said earlier, like when you see people and that it kind of inspire you navigating relationships. I know that Instagram isn't real life, but you can tell that what you guys have and the family that you guys have is that there's so much love. And, I know I'll have that one day, but
Well,
I'm trying to not like rush it. I'm trying to just let it happen.
enjoy your life, sis.
Yeah, thanks, girl. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before I get to pick Julie's brain, I to end on kind of a positive note about my week is that I am truly, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I have traveled the world. I've gotten to do a ton of fun stuff. I had brought my, this is my Cosmo magazine.
Literally one of the most iconic covers of all time. When I tell you, I've used that cover of you on the cover of Cosmo on so many decks
Aw,
before we even knew each other. But
really?
like so many decks because I'm like, this is what, like, one, you're stunning. Two, the
Thank you.
inclusivity. Three, like the styling, the hair, the make, all of the things. And I'm like, this should be a gold standard.
Yeah.
Like, we need to see more of this. And so it's been on all of my decks.
Thank you. And also shout out to Vivian, who was she was a Black designer and stylist that did this. My dress was a made by a Black designer named Alon, Zeely for she. This is definitely a career highlight. And the reason I brought it was obviously this is Cosmopolitan UK or Cosmo US. I know it's not the same, but also still iconic in their own regards. I never thought that I'm just gonna put myself beside myself. I never thought that I would, be on the cover of Cosmo, but I say all of that to say that, I have traveled the world and not the entire world, but I've traveled a lot. I have done nearly everything that I wanted to do, even the ridiculous stuff. But I had a hard time finding joy, true joy in what I was doing. And it really took, I think, going through the pandemic and having some of that taken from me to really start to find joy within the work I do. And I feel like now for the first time that I'm able to be picky about who I want to work with, the brands I want to work with. Like I did this collab with Glow Recipe recently, and like even the deck that they sent me, it was inclusive. They had models that were of dark skin tones. But I'm saying like, usually when brands use women of color, they're usually light skinned. And so for them sending this over that had like dark skinned models and they were visibly plus size, and it just made me feel more aligned with like working with these brands. And I mean, there's other brands too that, I've been fortunate enough to work with, but it's finding the joy and also like seeing the work that I've been part of collectively kind of like coming back to me, and like
Mhm.
knowing that I've just been a small part of pushing that forward has been incredibly humbling and wonderful to me, which is part of why I wanted to have Julie as my guest today, because the work that Julie is doing is truly changing the face of the beauty industry and making it more inclusive.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, look, it's part of our legacy. We spend
Mm,
a lot of time away from our families, working hard to try to make ends meet or make them go far beyond meeting. Like everybody wants to have, abundance,
mhm,
but we have to work really hard to get there, right? And
mhm,
so it's like if I'm going to spend this much time away from my family and doing all this stuff and like working so hard, I want there to be a legacy to be left, right? When I'm said and done, I want you to Google my name and be like, oh, she did that, yo. Like she
mm,
told the stories and she moved the needle and she opened the door for other people and she made this industry a little better for me to work in.
mm. Why did I mean, I could have never said that as beautifully as you did, but I truly never thought of it as building a legacy. I think when you're in it, like you and I are, there's obviously different ways to look at it. And this is, I mean, I definitely think that you are wiser than me in a lot of ways, and I hope to be as wise as you, but
No.
listen, it's different
But there's a
levels.
legacy. Look, you're
Yeah.
gonna have that cover. You're gonna have all the other covers you've done.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have this podcast. Like
Yeah.
everything's a time capsule.
It
Everything
is.
that you touch, everything that you do, even your imprint on social media, in Instagram, like
Mm,
that is all contributes to your legacy and like how people want to see you now. But when as morbid as it is, when we're said and done,
yes.
what's left behind? What do people have to see? What was the Sanskrit? Like,
Mm,
what was our imprint on this world? Our biggest legacies are our children. Like, let's just be
yes.
honest,
Yes.
right? But that's also part of it. Like, I want Orion and Nadir to be like, yo, my mom was a badass. Like,
Yeah.
she did what? She did this. Like, she talked to who?
Mm-hmm.
She told this story. She was on Tess Holliday's podcast. Like, I want them to be like,
Beyonce sends you
wow.
clothes.
I was literally saying that the other day to my son. I was like, I don't think you understand, but like Beyonce and Ivy Park sent you a box. Like, they don't even, like, with children's clothes in it. Like, they don't even sell the children's clothes.
They
This
don't.
is bespoke.
Yes.
Like, you can't buy this anywhere. And Beyonce sent it to you. Like, and he's like, Beyonce. And I'm like, I can't. When you grow up, you're going to be like, Mom,
Yeah.
I was so cool
Yeah.
at 6 years old. And I'm like, yeah, you were.
Yeah, I mean,
And
just
continue to be.
and continue, and that is his legacy. He's already way cooler than either one of us were at that age.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, listen, when I saw that Beyonce sent you stuff, I almost cried. He looked so cute. Your little videos and stuff that you guys do is my one of my favorite parts of Instagram. So
And I will never get over it. Like,
no.
I hope I'm stay that way forever and always, even as cool and even cooler things happen or whatever in my life. I hope I always have that, like, oh my God. Like, I wasn't like, oh, here's my Ivy Park box. Like, I was like, what? Who? Like, does anyone see this? What is going on? Like, I was like losing it in my room, like a 12-year-old like girl. Like, so I hope I don't get jaded by this industry and like what I do.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you say that because I have times pre-COVID when we would go out where you would be in these rooms with these incredible people and you would have moments where at least for me, I would be like, I can't believe I'm here. And then, I can't believe I get to meet this person. And it never gets old. And my manager has told me, like, Tess, like, you can't freak out. This person's going to be there and you got to just be chill. You can't go up to them. And then in my head, it's just like, I still get excited. When brands send me stuff, Julie, if Beyonce sent me stuff, I would get it tattooed on my forehead. No, everyone would hear about it. I would never it's a testament to it's testament to you and your integrity, but also, this industry can be really vapid. And I love that you can still find joy and get excited because what's the purpose if you can't,
Life is short.
It is.
Sis. Like,
It is.
we gotta celebrate these things. We have to. 2020 / now still 2021 has taught us anything. It is YOLO and do the things. Like, we don't know like when life is gonna end, when we're gonna catch a crazy virus. Like, it's insane, like what we're going through. So it's like, if you have it in your heart to do something, do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do it. I agree. I am going to jump into the first question that I have for you. And we kind of just, the universe has us today and always, but especially today. Julie just cracked her knuckles to get ready for the questions. She's doing you're doing shoulder adjust. She's ready. You had just, she's dusting. If you guys are listening to this, you have to watch the YouTube that is going to be up after because Julie is really performing and doing the most, and I love it. It's not, she's like, no, I can do it all, and I'm going to show you. So that's what we're seeing. So the fashion industry universally is known to be cutthroat. And now that I've been part of the fashion industry for, I've been modeling for 10 years, but the actual fashion industry I've only been a part of for a handful of years because let's be real, they didn't really care about bigger bodies until a few years ago. And they're starting to care. We're getting there. But what I have learned through with being in part of the beauty industry is that yes, it is cutthroat, but there is a lot of love. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of really amazing people in our industry. And I know it hasn't always been that case. And I know that for you, you didn't just wake up and get a job at Cosmo. So can you tell us how you got started? What your first job was like?
I mean, look, I had a lot of internships. My first internship was at Bergdorf Goodman in the buying office. Like, I just wanted to get my foot in the door in fashion. Then I interned the next summer at Vibe magazine. Then the next summer at Condé Nast Traveler. And then I got my
Mm.
first full-time job. Oh, then I interned after I graduated college at Parenting magazine. Then I got my first full-time job at Real Simple magazine, being the assistant to the editor-in-chief. So
Wow.
kind of like very Devil Wears Prada, but like my editor-in-chief wasn't the devil. Like, she was amazing.
That's
So it
great.
was like a lot of just like making sure she had everything that she needed, making her meetings, getting her car, making sure her kids were picked up, all of those things. But because I did that job well, I was able to then get promoted into the fashion department. So I started off as a fashion assistant and then worked my way up at Real Simple to being the staff fashion editor. So I was at Real Simple magazine for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Then that brought us to 2011, when magazines were folding and keeping their websites. Like, it was all about digital. So I was like, I need to know digital. So when when the Huffington Post called and was like, we're looking for a new fashion and beauty director for our website we're acquiring called Black Voices. And I jumped at the chance because I was like, I need to learn digital. But I always say I went from a monthly to a minutely, because working
Mm.
on a magazine where I was working on like 4 stories a month, I was writing 4 stories a day at the
Oh,
Huffington Post. So like, I spent almost 5 years at the Huffington Post. I got married while I was there. I had my first son while I was there. I have over like 2,500 clips, like from
wow.
like writing, because it was just like boom, boom, write it. Like, I was writing almost like 4 to 6 stories a day. So it was wild, but I was able to learn digital, learn how to craft a story really well and really fast and tight.
Mhm.
And then I got my job as fashion and beauty director at Essence. And like, Essence is like, such a heritage brand. It's Black Girl
Mhm.
Magic headquarters. I think every Black journalist wants to touch Essence at some point in their
Mm.
career. So to go over there as the fashion and beauty director was such a dream come true. And I stayed there for 4 years. And by the time I left, I'd become the global beauty director. So I
Mm.
kind of let go of
Sure did.
fashion and focused on beauty, which actually I think was really great because it allowed me to just like focus on one thing instead of being like spread so thin. And then a year ago, I got the job at Cosmo as
Mm.
their beauty director. So I've had like this very cool like climb, and I've touched really amazing brands along the way. I've been like really, really blessed in that sense.
I mean, you have been blessed and you have also worked incredibly hard. I knew a little bit about you from following you over the years and being your friend, but also like I didn't know a ton about your professional life until I Googled you and was like reading interviews and kind of like getting to know a little bit of your background to write the interview. And I want to say before I finish that thought, when Julie announced that she was going to be the beauty director at Cosmo, I cried. I like burst into tears because
Aw.
to see someone, to someone that has your integrity and also just your heart at a magazine that has not always, they haven't always been known for that. I mean, I love Cosmo. I've talked about it many times of what it meant for me just being like a fat woman on Cosmo. Like I would read all the sex tips and like when I was like in Mississippi when I was like 15 trying to figure it out, but like it wasn't really known for what the magazine has really turned into in the past couple years. And I know with your help, and I want to say help, but like with you being there and doing the work you're doing, I can't wait to see where it goes. And I say all that to say when you were talking about Black Girl Magic with Essence, I got chills. And the next thing that I had on my note card was that there was an interview that I read where you gave a quote and said, "Black women are magic, and I want my legacy to be that I made sure that the message is spread everywhere." And that's literally what you're doing. So what does it mean for you to be the beauty director for a mainstream magazine as a Black woman, knowing that you can literally help shift an entire culture?
I mean, it's everything. I think a lot of people, when I announced that I was leaving Essence, I was getting DMs from people I know and DMs from complete strangers like, how can you leave us? Like, how are you leaving Black Girl Magic
Wow.
headquarters? Like, you know, don't go. Or I also got messages like, you're selling out. Like they're gonna water down your content. You're not gonna be able to tell the stories. And I made it very clear when in the interview process with Cosmo, I was like, look, I'm a Black woman married to a Black man with Black kids. And like, it is going to be, uh, it's, that's my filter, right?
Mhm.
The fact I can tell all the stories because Black women in the industry have to know about everyone's beauty, whereas others don't.
Yep.
They're not held to the same standards. So they already knew that I could tell my stories and other people's stories, but I also wanted to make sure that I was going to be supported in diversifying a lot of the storytelling. And when I tell you the EIC was like, go for it. I'm here for this. This is why we're having this conversation with you. And so it's important not only the optics of having a Black beauty director at a
Absolutely.
mainstream publication, but to go the step further and then also give me the power to actually do the storytelling is
Mhm.
different because we see a lot of performativeness. Like we're gonna
Absolutely.
put this Black person in like, a leadership role to make it look like we're woke, but we're not gonna let them have any power in that leadership position. Whereas I've gotten this position and they've given me the power. So it's really nice.
It is nice, and it's refreshing, and literally what you just said was that Black folks have to know about all the other, everything else in the beauty industry without it being reciprocated. Uh, that is true. That is it's so true. And when you were saying when you compiled the list and said, most people it is performative and it is like the top 20, like, it's frustrating that you even have to say that, but that's why it's so important and that's why I wanted to talk to you today because I think for a lot of listeners and viewers, this isn't normally stuff that people think about. It's not in your day to day. You're seeing this media and you're consuming, the things that Julie is working on and different folks like that without really understanding like what's going behind it, like the people that are putting this out there. And it's so important to have diversity and representation, but actual diversity from the folks that are from those communities. And I think that we all need to be a bit more mindful of, what we're consuming, who is putting that out there and the labor that it takes and why people are doing this. And like you said, it's part of your legacy and you've done so many incredible things. Is there a moment or maybe a couple moments that stick out to you of something that you were able to do that you are very prideful of, like something that you think like, I did that.
Oh my gosh. I've been really blessed that I've been able to do a lot of things that I'm really proud of, like
Mm,
creating franchises, like dope stuff on my desk. I had a podcast as well when I
mm,
was at Essence called The Color Files that was Webby Award
mm.
honored.
Yes, it was.
Um, I think the cover story I just did with Cosmopolitan with SZA is definitely a
Oh,
highlight. I also did a feature and Cosmo in the November issue on what the world can learn from Black women about beauty and just how we interact and how we intersect with beauty is just in a very different way than anyone else.
mhm.
And I think it's really refreshing and something that a lot of people can be inspired by. And then I think one of the other projects that I'm really proud of is I did this series at Essence called Black Women in Beauty, and it was Black beauty executives, and we created digital covers where the first year we had 15 of them and the
Wow.
second year we had 17. And it's all these Black women who are just major players in the beauty industry, but behind the scenes that you don't see. And they're the ones at the table. They're the ones making sure that our voices are heard in the board meetings. They're the ones making sure that like the product development is there and that sort of thing. And it's not at a level that it needs to be, but I did want to celebrate those women that were behind the scenes, like helping. So that will always like remain such a highlight in my career, is being able to like celebrate them, because they're the ones that you don't see and they don't get celebrated.
Absolutely. And I throughout my career, you meet a lot of people, and I know Julie because of my career in fashion, but there's so many folks that I have met that are behind the scenes that are doing so many incredible things, that are women of color, people of color, that literally work for these huge brands that are part of, again, what we're seeing, what we're consuming. And um it to me, it's so important to have folks that are able to be diverse in these rooms, because, before I take a job, I can't always do it, but I do my best to make sure that, it is diverse as possible, knowing that there are these leaders and these folks that are behind the scenes that are making sure that these things are happening. I mean, it's not surprising, that there are folks of color doing it. I appreciate that I just appreciate you, and I appreciate that, you are able to highlight folks that I don't wanna say that they're in thankless jobs, because they're not, but leading up to this
But
interview,
they don't get the glory like everyone
they
else. And
don't.
like,
They don't.
and they have fancy jobs, don't get me wrong, and they have great
They
salaries,
do.
but no one, I think it was also important to show people the brands, the mass brands, because these weren't just like Black women behind Black owned brands. These
Mhm.
were mostly Black women behind like big Estee Lauder brands and like
Mm.
L'Oreal and like all of that. And I wanted people to see that, oh, Tatcha has a Black woman at the table. Oh, Shiseido has a Black woman at the table.
Mm.
So like I wanted there to be like this little like, crib sheet of like people saying like, oh, that is a mass brand that I would have thought it was all white people,
Yeah.
making decisions. And now it was the transparency of saying, actually, there's a Black woman there and she's trying to change things, or she's the one where you see more inclusivity in their marketing and stuff. She's there pushing it.
Mm.
So it was really important for me to make sure folks saw that.
That's amazing. And the more I find out about you, the more I want to, as I tell my kids, squeeze them until their eyeballs pop out.
Honestly, you
Because
too.
that's how I show love. So, so being in a position of leadership allows you to mentor employees, staff, readers. I mean, obviously, given the energy and stuff that you have, but I mean, it is part of being in that role. What are some things that you've taught people that you've worked with, or people that have worked for you, that you think my audience could benefit from knowing as well?
Lord, I think I've learned more from others than I've probably given them. But if I could, I mean, when I do talk to people and they say, oh, you've helped me, or like I've been inspired, it's usually very much centered around authenticity.
I was just
And
gonna
how,
say that word.
because I think a part of my brand, which I hate the word brand because it makes it sound like it's so I'm crafting my brand, but I'm really not crafting my brand. Like, this is who I am.
Yes.
Like, and I think that's what inspires people a lot, because it's like, oh, sure, it sounds like, oh, she's the beauty director at Cosmo. She's like, it's fancy. I'm like, I live in the same 4-story Harlem,
Your walk up.
like 4-story walk up in Harlem that I've had for the past 16 years. I literally was sleeping in a full size bed with my husband for the past 15 years. We just got a king size bed, which is like life changing. I'm like, I'll talk about like, oh, I didn't go to the Dior event because I had to go and pick up my kid, and like that sucks, but like this is my life. And you know, I think that it's important for people to see that, because all they see is like, oh, it's just fabulous and this and that. And like
Yeah,
they see that the TV shows and like, sure, it's glamorous. I wouldn't be working in this industry if there wasn't fabulous aspects of it.
for sure.
But I think it's also important to show that like there's a lot of work and hustle that goes behind this. When I'm jumping on the bed with Tracy Ellis Ross after doing a podcast with her, I don't go out to drinks with her and like just party the whole night and then go home and sleep. It's like I had to go home, get that interview transcribed, sit down, write notes, and make sure that now the cover story that I have to write about Tracy Ellis Ross is deserving of her reading it and thinking I did a good job. Like, this isn't just like a cover story like spills out of your head and your fingers. Like, now there's work to be done. I go to those events, come home, and have to do stories around it. It's not just like party and bullshit. It's party and or like do that fabulous thing and then all of the work behind it that has to happen.
Absolutely. And
People need to show that.
yes, and you're right. A ton of people do not show that. They show the parts that you were talking about, but they don't show the actual work and labor that goes into it. I was in the bathroom with Tracy Ellis Ross at the where was I? It was the it was a what is it? Women in Hollywood. Was it the L Women in Hollywood event or the Allure? I don't remember. It was another magazine, but she was
Mhm.
being honored and we were in the bathroom at the same time. And she had this giant dress and she was like scooping it in to go through the door. And I have been such a fan of hers since Girlfriends, and seeing her in the bathroom and her just smiling at me. Oh, it was the In Style Awards. That's what it was.
She's
Um,
so sweet.
She's so sweet, so beautiful, and she had on flip-flops underneath her ball gown, and I remember she lifted her dress and I was like, "You have flip-flops on." Like, I didn't mean it, just kind of came out, and she goes, "Girl, I'm not trying to mess my feet up for this."
I
And
mean,
I just was like, "I
again,
love you."
but again, that's the thing. It's the
Yeah.
authenticity. Like, I
Yes.
love the fact that like people who really live their truths, right?
Where do you see yourself next? I know you're at Cosmo and you're gonna be here. I know that you are just getting started, but for
Yeah.
you, do you I guess, like, where do you see all of this going, you know?
I definitely have like more to do at Cosmo and like more dreams to fulfill there. But like, I want to be at some point like a master of my own time and like
Mm,
space and energy. So like, writing books, maybe doing a podcast again,
mm.
maybe, working with different brands. Like, I don't know. I feel like the sky's the limit. Like, I feel like I have really crafted a career that can take me into a lot of different directions. I get speechless when I
Yeah,
can think about like what the future holds. So I don't like to like, I do like to dream and pray in specifics. Don't get me wrong, but I'm really excited that there's so many avenues I could go down.
I love that. What is self-care look like to you right now? You're a new mom.
I love baths. I do
Mm,
not have a really fabulous bath. I always dream of like my dream bath. When I really have made it in life is when I have my dream bath. It's going to be like this big copper bathtub,
wow.
like that I can just sit in for hours. But I digress. I take baths. I watch a lot of documentaries. I would be going more and like doing like facials and massages, but like outside is closed.
Mhm.
So we're not doing that. Um, I I'm not like I'm really like very much a homebody. Like I like to just like sit and be like snuggled up in the bed and watch like documentaries.
What is your
I
astrological sign, Julie?
I am Aquarius
Okay. Just
and
because
all of my like risings and da 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 are Capricorn.
wow, because I'm a Cancer, and when you were saying that, I mean, Aquarius water, that makes sense because baths to me are definitely self-care, and I I actually just moved into a space where I have a bath that could fit me and you. Um, so
Really?
yes, I don't,
Girl, that is like my dream is to have just like a luxurious bath. I just want to be in there whenever I fit myself
yes,
for a tiny bath. It's literally like sitting in a puddle, but it's fine
yeah.
because I just zone out. I usually have my phone and I'll either mount it and watch like a movie or documentary, or I'll do online shopping. And that's basically like my zen time.
Do you have a bath tray?
I don't because our bathtub is so small that it doesn't have a ledge on one side. So it can't sit on there's only one ledge side and then the other side is just wall.
All right, I'm gonna workshop this for you because I knew that you were still in your same walk up from reading interviews, which is why I rudely interrupted you a minute ago when you were talking about it. But I'm gonna workshop this because I'm gonna find a way for you to. I don't know. I know some
So I'm
people.
gonna get my home. Like it's coming. Like
Yeah,
I feel it. I cannot leave God's green earth without having owned a piece of property. I'm like, I've been renting for my whole entire life. I was like,
yeah,
we're gonna own some place sometime soon that's big enough for our family. It doesn't have to be a mansion,
no,
just something nice,
yeah.
and that I will have my dream tub.
I lo-
And
I I honestly, for those listening, I have to say it's so rewarding talking to someone, like Julie, who I've said this 1,000 times already in this podcast that you're in a very powerful, very important job, and to be able to talk to someone who is equally as powerful, if not more, doing all of this stuff and being able to say like I've rented my whole life because same. I don't own property. I just bought my first designer bag literally a couple months ago and thank
mm,
you. And
little victories.
yeah, little victories. And it's the realities really of, having to, deciding that you want to have a family and have a career. And people say that, they ask me all the time, like, how do you do both? And for me, you know, um, it's a choice, but that means sacrifices. But after this podcast with Julie, I'm gonna go home, pick up Bowie from school.
Oh,
And then yeah, I know I can't wait till our kids can actually play. I think my heart
I
will burst.
know. Wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you get I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety of so I'm 39 years old and I'm having this like, oh my God, I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 next January.
Mhm.
And like I need to do all these things before I'm 40 and I'm like washed up and I'm like, that's not real. Like 40 is not washed up. But like this industry there's a lot of ageism too.
Yeah. The age thing has been messing with me a lot. And at this point, you guys know what I'm going to say. I'm going to reference the universe, right? Here I go again with my conversation with you, but I have been really really thinking about my age a lot because, you know, um I unlike a lot of models, I'm honest with my age. And I am, I'll be 36 in July, and I've had a few people, no one that really matters. Let's be real, but they've been like, "Well, what are you going to do next?" And I just kind of think like, first of all, I'm not done modeling, but for me there are certain things that I had wanted for myself personally that I've kind of, not that I'm giving up on, but I want to do high fashion. I have always wanted to do high fashion, but now we have, there are several plus size girls right now doing high fashion, that are all women of color, that are all deserving. That it's like seeing, Precious Lee, who's a phenomenal black model, modeling for Versace. And then there's a plus size model named Paloma, who was just
Mhm.
on the cover of British Vogue. And seeing all of that stuff literally makes my heart soar and it makes my heart so full. And I think to myself, like, is that something that I still want to do? I'm older. I'm much older than both of them. and then I've had to kind of think for myself, for me, maybe that's not my path, but what does my path look like and what does that mean for me? And then it always comes back to my age, and it always comes back to, well, maybe I'm not, especially with Instagram and the algorithm, I think like, God, I'm not relevant anymore. Like nobody gives it. In my
You're
head, I go like,
super relevant.
thank you. But in my head and the age, I tell myself I'm not. No one cares anymore. Like I'm just, maybe I've
But
had
we
my
need to
time.
stop that
We do.
because we acknowledge it, right? And we have
Mm,
platforms and we need to
yes,
acknowledge it because if we're feeling that way, there's millions of other people feeling that way, right?
absolutely.
And we do need to stop that and know that there are other dreams beyond maybe those, and they're not conventional dreams, they're big dreams. Doing high fashion, like that could still happen
Yeah.
and it should happen for you, but dreaming beyond that, right?
Yes.
Because I even think about myself like, okay, you're in magazines, you're in publishing, like the pinnacle of the pinnacle is to be an editor in chief, right? Like,
Mm,
and I'm like, the editor in chiefs now, my editor in chief's younger than me.
yeah.
The editor in chiefs at like all these publications are younger than me. It's
Mhm.
like I'm like yesterday's news at this point. Like
Well,
they want 20 somethings or like early 30 somethings, right? And so part of me feels like, well, did I really make it? Did I really make it in this industry if I don't become an editor in chief?
mm,
And and the fact that I'm questioning that is one thing, but
yeah,
I feel like the real answer though is like, no, you just come up with that could happen.
absolutely.
Who's to say that that can't happen at some point, and that'll be cool, but it makes you dream another dream, right? It
Yes.
says like that's cool, but like what's even better than that? Like, or maybe the universe is trying to tell me, sis, you don't want that job.
Yep.
It's like stressful or it's not what you think it's going to be. Like you need to move on and think about this other dream.
Mm. You know, I everything you're saying has literally been in my head for the past week, especially because, we're nearing a time where we're going to be vaccinated, where the world is going to start opening up. And I keep thinking to myself, what does all of that look like? What does that mean? Like how many more opportunities are out there? And as much as, you know, I think to myself, is this all I've done? If I were to die tomorrow, am I going to be happy with everything I've left behind? Absolutely. And I know that you would have the same answer as well. And anytime I question my age or feeling quote unquote too old or anything like that, I think about where I was a year and a half ago, in my unhappy relationship and having, the facade of everyone thinking that my life was really wonderful when in fact it wasn't. And I didn't even know, Julie, that I could be as happy and as fulfilled as I am now. And yeah, I'm older and I'm fatter and I'm this, but I just remind myself that it's gonna get better and it already has gotten better. And, like Julie said a little bit ago, YOLO, if there's something you want to do, do it. If you want to manifest it because, regardless of us getting in our head about ageism, and that's societally been placed on us, we all feel that way no matter what kind of job we hold and no matter what our lives look like.
Yes.
So you had a baby in an actual global pandemic. Can you
Yeah.
tell me what what it was like for you? You were pregnant when we didn't have a ton of information about what was going on with COVID. I can't imagine what that was like. Even having you mentioned a little bit having, him in a setting where people couldn't be around you and celebrate you the way you wanted. Um, yeah, what was it like
I
for
mean, I
you?
literally labored in a mask. Like that's crazy. Like,
Wow.
so it's wild. But you know what? My saving grace throughout my pregnancy was the fact that my younger sister, was pregnant as well. And she's 6 weeks ahead of me. So we would literally be on FaceTime all the time, like throwing up together, like just commiserating about kicks and I can't move, and like all of those things that, as you know, being pregnant, it's like wild, right? Your
Mhm.
body is just changing and it's doing crazy things, and you're breaking out, all of the things. So the fact that I got to have one of my best friends, my
Mm.
sister, going through it with me. She's in Baltimore, so we weren't close, but like we FaceTime each other at least like 3 or 4 times a day. So that was really, really nice. And it helped the loneliness too, because I couldn't be out and about. There wasn't commuting to work,
Yeah.
being around people in the office, walking down the street and like having people see you pregnant. Like there was none of that. I was literally stuck in the apartment. So it made it a little less lonely.
Yeah. How has Orion been with having a little brother? Because I know that he was so excited.
He's so excited. He loves him, which, is a lot sometimes because he like wants to touch him all the time, even when he's sleeping, and he wants to pick him up and he wants to walk with. I'm like, you're too small to pick. He's too small and you're too small for this to happen. But we're grateful because, like, look, it could have gone the opposite way. He could have been like, you need to take him back. All of this crying, all of this attention that he's getting, no one asked for that. So he's being very patient with the fact that, like, he's cutting into his time. For 6.5 years, he was the center of attention.
Yeah.
So now we have this other little human that we have to take care of. So he's been very kind and patient.
Both of us have children with a significant age gap.
Mhm.
Do you find it hard at all? I know I do. With kind of like parenting them both at the different stages that they are. I know that it's still very new, but have you felt that at all?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I was very nervous about that, and, like, it was a point of, like, sadness and frustration because we tried to have kids closer in age,
Mhm.
but I was having the miscarriages,
Yeah.
so that was really, frustrating and sad, like I said, for me, but now I think it's nice because he can, like, understand what's going on, he can help a lot. um I think that, you know, keeping the ages closer would have been nice. Like, if we're all going to like laser tag,
Yeah.
like bringing you to laser tag and you
Yeah.
to a puppet show. Like, that's what we're not doing. We're all doing one activity. So that would have been nicer if they were closer in age.
Mm.
But now it I'm trying to see the silver lining in it, in that I can do separate things with them and not like group it together. I can like go and do something with Orion and have him feel really special. And then I can go and do something with Nadir and like have him feel real special. And when I say go and do something, none of that doing something has happened because outside is still closed.
Yes.
But when it comes open, I will be able to do those things.
Yeah. I love that, and it's really important to have, to find the time with your each individual kids, and it's also so hard when you're, like, trying to do it all, and, speaking of Orion, you have a bunch of really cool art that you feature on Instagram, and one of them was a photo of Orion, which for those on YouTube will, pop it up, but there was
Yeah.
a photo of him wearing a crown that said young, gifted, in black with the background. There was like a banner in the background. So when you are shopping for your home, and we've talked about, shopping black owned brands and stuff like that, you know, is there kind of like a specific rule when you're shopping for your house, like,
Mhm.
kind of what you buy? And if so, do you have any like favorite folks that you love that like when you're in your house, you're like, oh, this is from this artist and it makes me happy and
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. Like, we definitely try to be conscious of it. I feel like there needs to be more black, like, owned, like, home, like, companies
Mm.
and stuff. Like, I have a friend, Nicole, who started a paint company called Claire Paint. And so when we paint anything, we make sure to buy from her.
Mm.
That Rayo and Honey banner that you're talking about, that's black owned. That says Young Gifted in Black. And she says you can get anything kind of put on
I love that.
those, which is really nice.
Mm.
I buy a lot of black owned like food items too. So like my favorite tea company called Adjourn Tea House is by a black woman. So I'm constantly getting that. But for the most part, we try to be as conscious as possible, but you can't buy. Sadly, our whole home would be buy black if we could, but I got West Elm here, and
Yeah.
we're there. But it's a good question. I feel like with our art, this is a friend, and he's
Mm.
not black. He's a Jewish friend, Daniel Horowitz.
Yeah.
We have at least like 10 pieces around the house of his. So I think that one, it's buying black, but for us too, it's buying friends, whether they're
Yes.
black or not. It's like pouring into people because that makes it a better story. It's not just like I saw this and it was cool. It was like I saw it's cool, but it's also made by someone we know and love. So hanging it above our bed is not just an aesthetic win. It's someone that's a part of our village that is now, put in his talent into a piece of art that's hanging over us where we sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. But knowing that it's by somebody, you're supporting a friend, and also COVID has hit a lot of people really hard, and by, when Julie was saying there needs to be more black owned home brands, when these brands do pop up, when you're looking at this list that Julie made, when you're, shopping the tea company, because I'm going to buy all the tea after this, but it's important to put your money where your mouth is. And if you want to see more of those brands, then you have to support the ones that are around now that are doing it, because that's how we grow more. That's how there is more abundance of these things, is you have to
An
support
investment.
them.
People will
Yes.
see that those things are making money, those companies are making money, and people will want to invest in their companies. And that's really important because people are spending their life savings to try to get these brands, and they need, financial support.
Absolutely. So going to, we were talking about Zoom for a minute, and I wanted to ask you, do you have any go-to tip for Zoom calls to like look fresh, to look like you're like, oh, I wasn't just running around breastfeeding and doing this, and now I'm on this Zoom call. Like, is there something that you go to kind of just help you feel good with minimal effort? Because that's
I
yeah.
literally do three things. These are the three things I'm like, I will be Zoom ready if I can achieve these three things. The first one is have my glasses on, because it hides a multitude of sins. They're big, they're bold because they're like tortoiseshell, and they're really big on my face. So I don't have to have like a lot of makeup on, eye makeup. I don't have to have a lash on, nothing, right?
Yep.
And like, they're all statement glasses. A statement eyeglass takes away from the fact that I don't have any makeup on, right? Because people focus on the glasses.
Yeah.
So I'll put on my glasses, and then I will put on the only other makeup I'll put on to make myself like pop is a lip.
Yep.
And then I put on like everyone is dressing from the waist up. I'll put on like a top that has like a print on it or something. It looks like it's not just like a black top, like a black t-shirt or something. I'll put something on with a print, and it'll make it look like you put some effort, right?
I love
So
that.
between the glasses, the lip, and like a statement top, we're done. We're ready. I'm talking to like bored people, and I feel like they have no idea that I'm either wearing no pants or I have like sweatpants on, or that I haven't put like a makeup brush to my face.
I love that. I know your time is valuable, so we're gonna play this game really quick because
Okay.
I know you got places to go and a world to change. So we are gonna play truth or dare.
Okay.
So truth or dare?
Truth. I always love a good truth.
If you had to snuggle any animal every day for a year, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I think it would have to be like a lion cub or something.
A
Like they're
lion.
just a lion cub. Like they're so cute. As long as it doesn't like bite my head off, like they're so cute. Don't you see people when they go to those like those big cat like
Yeah.
parks, and they're like feeding the cub with like a bottle? It's like, oh Oh,
I love that out of all the animals you picked like one with claws and that could like fuck you up
I
if it
know.
needed to.
Well, I'm assuming that if it'll allow me to cuddle it, it won't want to like eat me or scratch me.
That's fair. I would
Yeah.
cuddle yeah, I mean, absolutely. Now it's like Simba, baby Simba.
Simba. Simba and Nala.
Yes. Okay, truth or dare?
I'm gonna go with truth. I'm scared of these dares that I'm gonna have to like.
You should I tried
How
to.
can you do a dare like on
Oh,
camera?
trust me, I've got my ways, but listen,
What?
you're so authentic. I'm fine to do truths
Truth.
with you. So truth, what is the best thing that your husband has ever said to you? Or like the sweetest something?
I remember when we were dating, and he said, "You are stunning," and I
Mm.
was like, "What?" Like it was like guys say like you're pretty, you're cute, you're hot. Like when he was said you're stunning, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to marry this man and have all his babies." So so that was really nice. And then the sweetest thing he's ever done was obviously propose, but he proposed with a bracelet.
Okay, tell me.
So he got this bracelet made from a jeweler, and it's like an infinity symbol.
I see.
And inside of it, it says, "To love is to," it's a line from a poem he wrote me. So he also has written me poems. I mean, this man is like very romantic. But one of the lines was, "To love is to be happily ensconced in a dissonant equilibrium." And it says, "Will you be my partner in this journey of love for life?" So that's inscribed inside the bracelet. So
Wow.
that's probably like the sweetest thing he done. And I don't take this bracelet off. Like it really doesn't even come off anymore because my hand got fatter. And so it stays on all the time.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
wow, I can't wait to meet him. I'm gonna squeeze him till his eyeballs pop out too.
Yes.
And then my last truth was, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
And I really think like teleporting or flying would be cool. And like that's what everyone says. But I honestly would love to speak every language.
Yeah,
Like to be
wow.
able to go anywhere and speak the language to the most remote like village somewhere and be able to speak with those people. Like I think it's the journalist in me that like, I don't speak French. So even going to Paris, I'm like,
Yeah.
I get that croissant with the chocolate, yo, pan of chocolate. Like, like I want to be able to be anywhere, go to Italy, go to France, go to Russia, go to wherever and like speak the language and talk to the people.
I love that. Well, last and not least, Julie, I ask everybody the same question. How did you or how are you showing yourself love today?
I'm showing myself love today by taking this time away from my family, who I love,
Yes.
and literally I locked the door. There was a few times where I'm like, I wonder if she hears it, but like my son trying to get in here,
Only once.
where I was like, no, like this is showing myself love is
Yeah.
by like spending this time with you. And yes, I'm on maternity leave and I don't necessarily have to be doing this. And most people would think this is work, right?
Mm,
Right now, like you're working, you're doing your beauty director thing. And it's
yeah.
not. It's literally being able to talk to someone who I love and who I think the world of and speak and being able to kiki with a girlfriend. That's love. That's self-love and that's self-care.
Yeah.
So this has been amazing to me because I spend most of my day with a baby who can't talk back to me. So being able to talk to you has like really filled my soul.
I feel the same way, and I feel immensely honored to have had you as my guest, and I'm constantly learning from you, and I'm in awe of you, and I can't wait. Hopefully at the end of this year, September Fashion Week. I hope
Yes,
maybe
hopefully.
I would love to see you in real life.
Yes.
For everybody listening, how can they find you on social media?
On Twitter and on Instagram, I'm the same thing, at Miss Julee, but Julie spelled Julee. So MISSJULEE.
Thank you so much, Julie, for being my guest today and just for being the incredible human that you are. Thank you to everyone at home at your own slumber party for tuning in. But remember, if you were listening to this episode, you can also check us out on YouTube. Or if you are watching this episode, you can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to follow, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and like and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks, y'all.